In this video, I'm going to talk about optional chaining and how it makes our code look better. So as you can see here, I have this animal object present over here with a few properties, name, age, and attributes. So first of all, I'm going to write the code without using optional chaining, and then I'm going to use optional chaining and show you how it makes our code look better. So consider I have this function. I'm going to call it print animal, and I'm going to pass the animal object that we have defined on top, and this is going to be nothing but a function. And after that, I'm going to go down and I'm going to just write print animal, and I'm going to pass the animal object. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use console log, and I'm going to try and access the speed property within attributes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do animal dot attributes dot speed, right? When I do this, I get 20 km/h as expected. But what if this attributes did not exist, right? So if this attributes doesn't exist and we are trying to take out the speed property, what will happen in this case? When I save this, it's going to say cannot read properties of undefined reading speed. So basically it says that it cannot read the undefined property of speed, attached to speed. So basically attribute here is the undefined property, and that's why it cannot read the property of undefined while it's reading speed. Alright, so because attributes here returns undefined, it is also not able to read the speed property. So what people used to do before is something like this. So basically if animal and if animal dot attributes and if animal dot attributes dot speed. So what this does is if animal exists, then go on to the next part, which is animal.attributes, and if animal.attributes gives true, only then go to animal.attributes.speed. But in this case, animal.attributes will return us undefined. So null or undefined are both falsy values. So when animal is going to give us true because it exists, then when we go to animal.attributes, it's going to give us undefined, which is false. So then it won't go to this part, animal.attributes.speed. So what happens when I save this? It will not say this undefined reading speed because it won't be going until here. Because it won't be going until this block of code to even check if speed exists or not, because it will just return away from here. So if I save this now, I'm going to get undefined, right? So that error which you saw, it disappeared because it just went till animal.attributes, it returned false, and it returned the undefined value that this was giving. So that's where you got undefined. Now this is a huge chunk of code. Suppose if we have many nested properties, if within this height there is something more nested, and within that there is something more nested, then we have to keep on checking each of this like this by using the AND operator and continuously checking for each of those values. That is a pretty long process. So how do we write the code in a way where all this becomes more shorter and simpler? That's where optional chaining comes in. So what optional chaining does is I'm going to comment this code out. I'm going to write a console log over here, and I'm going to show you how simple it makes this above code look. All I'm going to do is animal.attributes.speed, and to attach the optional chaining property, all I have to do is with this animal I have to go ahead and put this question mark, and over here I have to put this question mark. So instead of writing animal and an animal.attributes and then animal.attributes.speed, I just directly have to write the value I require, which is animal.attributes.speed, and I can add the question mark right in front of those variables. So this is doing the exact same thing this entire line of code was doing. Basically it's just saying that if animal exists, which in this case it does, then go ahead and go to the attributes. If attributes exist and if it gives us true, then go ahead and execute look for the speed variable. So if I save this, you will see that it will still give us undefined. I saved it and we are still getting undefined. So that means this part of code is exactly giving us what it was giving here. Now if I just uncomment attributes and I save, it should be giving us speed. There you go, it's giving us the speed right now. So this in comparison to this makes it so much simpler and easy to use. So this is the benefit of optional chaining, that instead of writing the AND operator and using it everywhere, this makes it much more simpler for us. So now let's just consider if I pass undefined over here and I remove this question. Suppose if I remove these question marks and I pass undefined over here, like instead of passing the animal, I just pass undefined. So what would happen now is animal itself is undefined, but so it wouldn't go anywhere over here. But now I haven't added the optional chaining, so it should throw me that error again. When I save this, there you go. You can see cannot read properties of undefined reading attributes. We are calling animal dot attributes, so we are not able to read the properties of undefined, which is animal in this case, while reading attributes. So now if I just go to animal and I add that question mark, you will see that this error will go away. If I save this, yeah, you can see undefined coming back again. That's because you could see that error went away and undefined is coming because we are passing undefined here. So we cannot do undefined dot attributes, right? Because we still haven't passed that animal. But you could notice that error went away. So this will not throw errors in our application. It will do the checking right over here, and if it's not available, then it will just return us the desired output, which is undefined in this case. Now if I make it back to animal again, you'll see that it will return us 20 km/h. Do the same over here. So now optional chaining can also be used for functions as well as arrays. That's what makes it more special, that it can even be used for all those properties. So what I mean by that is, I'm just going to console log this part out, and I am going to create a function over here, and I'm going to call it bark. This will do nothing, but it will do console.log, and it will say bark. All right, so after writing this function, all I have to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm going to write animal.bark. I'm going to call bark, and now since bark exists, so when I save this, it's going to give me bark because it's printing it from the console over here. But what if I remove this bark now? If I remove this bark and if I try to save, then you can see I'm again getting animal.bark is not a function because obviously it doesn't exist anymore over here, right? So now using optional chaining, how do we check this? All we have to do is animal.bark, and after bark, all we have to do is something like this. We're going to put the question mark and dot. Now this might look a bit confusing, but once you understand optional chaining and you get used to this, you won't find this any more confusing. So basically, when you want to use optional chaining for a function, all you have to do is after the name of the function, just add the question mark and then the dot, after that. So if I save this now, you will see that error went away because right now after animal, it's checking if that bark exists or not. If it does not, then it's just going to return nothing in this case because it's not a function, it's not there. And similarly, we can also do this for this. We can pass animal over here. In this case, it was unnecessary, but it's always good to check each of them because what if in the future this animal object is no more present, then it will just return false after this and it won't throw any errors. All right, so this was for how to check it for functions. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm also going to show you how to do it for arrays. Now for arrays, all we have to do is I'm going to go down here and I'm going to maybe write an array name mood. I'm going to write sad and also happy. Sorry, this should be a comma. Okay, now for this, all we have to do is I'm gonna write console.log, and I'm just going to put some space over here. I'm going to write console.log, and then I'm going to do animal.mood of 0. All right, and if I save this, then I'm going to get sad as expected because mood is present. But now if mood is removed, if commented out, and if I save this, it's going to again show me that undefined error. So all we have to do is we have to check if this mood exists or not. So to use optional chaining for an array, all we have to do is this. We have to add the question mark and then the dot. And if I save this, you will see that error went away and it's showing me undefined because animal.mood is not present and it's throwing me returning me undefined. So it's not going to throw me that error. It's not going to stop my application and throw me an error anymore. And we can do the same over here. We can also put a question mark over here just to be sure. All right, so this is how we use it in arrays. So yeah, this is all about optional chaining. It makes our code look so much more simpler. You could see it over here in the first example where we try to do it manually by adding and every time. And if we have a lot many nested properties, this could stretch on up to many lines, and that is not at all good, and it's not readable code. So optional chaining just makes everything simpler by just allowing us to use exactly what we want and writing it the same way, but by just adding this question mark operator. So yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you got to know the benefits of optional chaining. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe.